Welcome to Misadventures Recap, a channel dedicated to keeping you up to date on the brand new SMP, Minecraft Misadventures. Misadventures is a D&D inspired world where creators can take on dungeons, gather resources, interact with NPCs, and even build villages that start telling their own story. We're planning to make content across all aspects of Minecraft Misadventures, so make sure you subscribe to stay up to date with what's happening. Now let's run through the list of who is on the server. And starting things off, we have AvidMC, Cambam, fWhip, Gemini, InfiniteDrift, Joey Graceffa, jojosolos, Katherine Elizabeth, the server queen herself, LDShadowLady, InTheLittleWood, MrMattRanger, Mogswamp, MythicalSausage, the Orion Sound, Pearlescent Moon, Pixlriffs, Rendog, Seapeekay, Shubble, Smajor, Smallishbeans, Solidarity, Soup for Eloise, SunnySev, Taneesha, and Zombie Cleo. This server is absolutely stacked. Let's start the recap with the server creator, LDShadowLady. Now, something I love in SMPs is chaos, and unfortunately for LDShadowLady, she had her fair share right away.
Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, this has gone horribly wrong, oh my god!
With everything working properly now, it was time for her to choose her starting location. She chose the abandoned iron mine and immediately had to save the Orion Sound, who was trapped there.
Hello?
Oh, is there anyone out there that could rescue me, for I am in fact trapped in this cave?
After finding and saving the Orion Sound, they both began to gather resources and see what else the mine had to offer. Until this happened.
Ah! Oh my gosh, no! Okay, that is kind of embarrassing.
Her first death landed her at one of the two settlements, Merryport. As Merryport was created by LDShadowLady for the server, she decided to try and flex her influence after bumping into Smajor. And it went a little something like this.
You see that guy over there? The one at the market store?
Yeah, the barrel guy.
Yeah, go ask him who his favourite customer is.
Honey vendor and Chowder name is as sweet as where's the mystery?
No. You were supposed to say me. Hansworth, don't you remember me? I created you.
After recovering from that rather embarrassing moment, she ventured out into the wilderness to recruit Joey Graceffa to do a dungeon with her. They arrived at the Lost Crypt and instantly had to defend themselves. The duo became separated, so LDShadowLady devised a devious plan.
Okay, I kind of want Joey to walk in there because it will trap him in.
Oh no, we're locked in here. Lizzie! Help!
I can't help you! I can't help you,
Lizzie!
Joey!
Lizzie, there's
Joey,
so many!
You have to kill them!
I got a diamond.
You have to kill them, Joey!
With great power comes great responsibility, Lizzie, that's all I'm gonna say. Anyway, she completed the dungeon to find Joey and apologise, and then returned to Merryport to her Market View home. From saviour to betrayer to homeowner, what a way to start an SMP. And I think I can safely say, we're all excited to see what LDShadowLady gets up to on Misadventures.
And next up, we have AvidMC. Let's see what they've been up to.
This is OLM1 sending one final mission log. The mission was a complete failure.
This is why a D&D style SMP is amazing, because you have people like Avid bringing bucket loads of lore. This incredible cinematic explains Avid took part in a failed mission which left them as the last crew member alive aboard a spacecraft that just so happened to crash land into the land of misadventures. Avid manages to find themselves in a large group of misadventurers heading towards the Lost Crypt, which they then fly through with ease. So much so that Avid decides to run back the dungeon with SunnySev and Mogswamp. This time, it doesn't go as well. Avid's presence disturbed the restless spirits, resulting in a gate shutting them off from Sev, and with only one way to go, the crash lander manages to find their way to the boss, the Pirate King.
Oh my gosh, I found the Pirate King. Oh!
And as it turns out, he hits very hard. Avid then turned to their next project to secure a plot of land to work on a base, and while out gathering resources, they bumped into Katherine. They both head off into the nether to get warped wood and streamlights, and then Avid comes back to start building the crash pod. And what other way to build a crash pod than with a time-lapse and a custom-produced song and animation? It is unreal. Please make sure you go and watch the whole thing. We are loving the futuristic Survivor-style lore that Avid is bringing to the server, and hope that one day they'll be able to find their way back home.
And now we have Cambam. Starting the episode, LDShadowLady introduces Cam to Tavern Keeper Wild Rose, before they are interrupted by fWhip. fWhip shows off his loot acquired from all the dungeon runs he's already completed, before taunting Cam to complete one himself. Cam flies through the dungeon and even beats fWhip to the other side. They compare loot before Cam challenges fWhip to a duel, with Lizzie as the mediator. fWhip lands the shot and Cam is forced to hand over his enchanted sword, leaving him even poorer. They take a break to help Jojo buy a house before creeping on her new neighbour's neighbours through the windows.
If you look this way, you can see Maiden Ellen through her window.
Each their own, I guess. We then see a group of the misadventurers see Cam coming and start heckling him as Worm Boy. They say there's a rumour being spread about him having worms and to ask Molly the NPC as confirmation. After Molly calls him a Worm Boy, it is now canon on the server that Cam has worms, no matter how hard he tries to disprove it. In response, Cam decides to spread his illness by throwing a splash potion of worms on Jimmy and Ollie. Jimmy informs him that that's not how it works and kills him. After collecting his loot from his grave, he then pesters Scott for some food and even tries to steal the mutton that Scott is farming. Scott has enough and also kills him. Cam finds himself in the company of Jem, Sausage and fWhip before confiding in Jem about the terrible day he's been having. Jem tells him that she's not his therapist and is sorry about his bad day, but does not need to hear about it. Cam trudges away in sadness before getting shot in the back and killed by Sausage. Sausage then apologizes for shooting Cam in the back, and Cam says this.
Like surprise back shots, do you know what I mean?
There has to be a better way of saying that. Then after more teasing, Jem apologizes to Cam, which he thinks is the appropriate time to ask her for a kiss.
That's okay, do you want a kiss?
Cam.
No.
Cam spends the rest of his day decorating his house with the help of Sausage before closing out the episode. Let's hope next week things go a little better for him.
Up next, we have fWhip. After getting caught up in some cryptic clues from the town's NPCs, he bumps into some friends who collectively agree that if they want to have a home by tonight, they need to start dungeon diving immediately. fWhip enters the sewers with InfiniteDrift, Katherine, MrMattRanger, Shubble, and Taneesha. Things are going relatively well at first, collecting gold and pulling secret levers, but it doesn't take long before the players get overwhelmed and start dropping like flies. fWhip, being the only survivor, cleans up the remaining gold piles and heads for the exit, where he's rewarded with some valuable loot. Realizing it wasn't too difficult, he decides to run the dungeon again and is even rewarded with a mending book. fWhip then heads into the wilderness and picks a spot for his starter base and a massive wheat farm near Maryport. Being the talented builder that he is, he decides on a block pallet and heads to the resource well to gather the materials.
What do I throw away? What do I throw away? Big drip leaf? Yeah, not very useful.
With no room left in his pockets, he returns to Maryport to buy a townhouse, setting up a crafting station and some storage. Then heads back out to the wilderness to claim the plot of land now officially known as fWhip Family Farms. I'm definitely going to say that wrong so many times this series. After laying out the plan for the base, he decides to take a break to do a little fishing. He catches a saddle and happens to find an incredibly fast horse almost immediately, naming him Chestnut. Taneesha briefly visits to buy some slime for 150 gold, and fWhip begins decorating the interior of the build, as well as adding a stable for Chestnut. To be able to purchase more land, fWhip decides to run the Lost Crypt dungeon, and even finds multiple Empire SMP references amongst the puzzles.
Rose bushes around it? Yeah, that's definitely Empire Season 1 reference. And then right over here, oh, the goddess, a sunflower. I wonder who that's supposed to be a reference to. Sausage.
After a few more runs through the Lost Crypt, fWhip is able to take a break for some shopping, buying some birdhouses from Gabe the Merchant, and then returning home to lay out the start of a beautiful garden.
Next up is InfiniteDrift. Drift starts the episode by exploring the various vendors and townhouses for sale in Maryport. Drift bumps into Taneesha, who is already fully equipped with diamond gear and has a house. Drift needs a place to store things, so asks to rent out the bottom floor. After a back and forth about fees and bills, they strike a deal and Drift starts to make the place feel a little more like home. Drift eventually wants to move out and build her own home, so starts to gather the materials needed. She joins up with Sev, Sausage and Shubble in the wilderness, and they discuss the idea of a community village to share the cost of the land.
Okay, yeah, I think we joined a cult.
They clarify this will not be a cult, however, even if they all might start wearing robes and performing weekly sacrifices. After pooling all of their money together, they purchase the land and Sev is dubbed as the mayor as they contributed the most money. Drift returns to the community village and admires everyone's builds before finishing the interior of her own base and adds some garden to the build.
Up next, we have Joey Graceffa. Joey starts his adventure in Maryport, unsure of where to go next. He notices Avid already has full iron armor and is able to sweet talk himself into getting some free leftover iron ore and steak. Katherine, Avid, and Joey then head into the wilderness to scout out some potential spots for their bases. Along their way, they come across Travis the goat herder, and Joey immediately initiates drama, but also flirts with Travis, who only speaks in the third person for some reason. After some more exploring, they find a copper mine with NPC Victor Blackthorn living nearby. While snooping around, Joey realizes the bookcases are filled with various stories and survival guides, stealing a few in the process. Avid and Katherine catch him and tell Victor what Joey's doing. Joey says he'll return the books but for a furnace in exchange, and to their surprise, a furnace falls to the ground. Joey steals the books again and this time tries to get some free coal out of the deal, but Avid reveals he was the one that spawned in the furnace and can't spawn in the coal this time as his powers were revoked.
Alright, so I'll be honest. I gave you the furnace, but I've been stripped of my power.
The group then separate and Joey purchases a plot of land in the wilderness to build a future wizard tower.
And now we have jojosolos. Jojo opens the series with a beautiful cinematic, waking up disorientated in front of a set of doorways, being called to one in particular that shortly brings her to the Lost Crypt dungeon. She then encounters the warrior and his companion. After killing the warrior, the skeleton dog seems to be friendly, but Jojo was so desperate to unlock the extra loot they were guarding that she kills the dog too.
I'm about to have to do something that is just going to be deleted from all existence.
Just to find out that that wasn't the answer to unlocking the room after all. How cruel. Jojo then flies through the parkour room and finds herself in a large puzzle room with various item sacrifices. She realizes she can use the items straight from the item frames to complete the puzzle, but is quickly overwhelmed by amethyst skeletons. After spawning back in town, Jojo takes a break to check out what the vendors are selling and to scope out a potential new home. She's then roped into spectating Cam and fWhip's duel before getting help purchasing her first home. She quickly realizes she has a peeping Tom for a neighbor and maybe starts to regret the house she decided to buy.
Wait, I gotta close my windows. I don't like that.
She was the I thought you were the creepy one, but it's her.
Next up is Katherine. Katherine was part of the crew that tackled the sewer dungeon almost immediately, and very quickly learned how dangerous they are. Dying to slimes, watching Sev die to a lever trap, and then dying to slimes again. Taking a break from the sewers, Katherine decides to look for a place to live, finding all kinds of points of interest, but ultimately settling on a spot in a flowery forest, with plans to build a Tamagotchi-inspired town called Pixel Place. Now with a spot she can empty her pockets, she heads into the resource world to gather some building materials. While chopping down trees in a cherry grove, she bumps into Avid. They both have some nether blocks on their shopping list and decide to venture in together. They expertly craft a nether portal from a nearby lava pool and tick off the last few items they needed. Katherine returns home and builds the cutest first house in her Tamagotchi town. Now seeking revenge on the sewer dungeon, she parties up with some friends and easily flies through to the end. Feeling confident, they then move on to the Lost Crypt dungeon. This one doesn't go as well as Katherine gets separated in the spider trap room, and as the group try to help her through the iron bars, she dies.
I was overconfident and got trapped in a cage with spiders.
Moving on to Martin. Martin starts his series deep in an abandoned iron mine with Seapeekay, which together spend the next 15 minutes adamant that there is a TNT Minecraft puzzle needing to be solved to escape, but eventually after exploring the maze of a mine, find their way to the surface. Ren then hires both Seapeekay and Martin's evisceration services in the next dungeon for a diamond each. The group enter the sewers and things are going swimmingly until Martin finds out the hard way you should be careful when pulling random levers in a dungeon.
I shouldn't have done that.
Upon exiting the dungeon, he finds himself back in Merryport and stumbles into a nearby house for sale. Given its close proximity to the sewer dungeon, he decides to buy it immediately and starts making it a home. Solidarity, Scott, and Cam show up shortly after and are given a tour, before Jimmy invites everyone to visit his home in Orchidea, or Awkward, as Martin is now referring to it as. After arriving in Orchidea, they are welcomed into Jimmy's Bonita Casita, and can't help but point out how small it is. Martin then returns to Merryport and reveals the finished interior of his new home.
Next up is MrMattRanger. After group touring some of the townhouses, Scott says he's going to buy up the plots around him so that Cam can't be his neighbor. Matt, hearing this, immediately runs to Cam with a devious plan. They both head to Scott's house and buy the two surrounding properties, but agree to keep it a secret for now. Matt heads out to the wilderness to purchase a plot for his future base, before heading to the resource world for materials. He makes a trade with Taneesha for some mushroom stems, and a trade with fWhip for dark oak and mangrove saplings, before heading back and finishing his starter home.
Up next, we have MythicalSausage. Sausage and a group of misadventurers stumble across the Lost Crypt, where he reveals he actually built the dungeon himself, and in only 24 hours. He then cuts to a behind-the-scenes look at how it was made, from the opening chamber to the themed rooms and puzzles. Including plenty of references to previous SMPs, we highly recommend you check out his video for a deeper look. Cutting back to the dungeon run, Sausage works his way through to the final loot room and discovers the additional loot chests locked behind gates, realizing there must be additional puzzles or rooms that were added after he had handed the dungeon to Lizzie. Back in town, he is reunited with the other dungeon crawlers that decide to this time party up in the sewer dungeon. Sausage witnesses firsthand how dangerous dungeons can be as he watches Avid pull a lever and plummet to his death before dying to poison himself shortly after. With an inventory full of loot and nowhere to put it, Sausage scouts out a small cabin to buy in Merryport, empties his pockets, and heads to the resource world to start gathering materials. After loading up on spruce, tough, deep slate, and even some diamonds, returns back to the wilderness to help confirm a spot for a community village. fWhip arrives shortly after, accusing the group of being a cult, before being chased away with a cult stick.
You can catch me.
Sausage whips up his beautiful starter home and takes a moment to show off his skin and thank concept artist fWhology, teasing potential different lore-filled skins to come in the future.
Next up is Pixlriffs. Pix starts the series with a beautiful cinematic and takes a quick look around Maryport before heading straight to the resource world. After traveling over 10,000 blocks, he finally finds a Badlands biome and starts collecting as much red sandstone as he can hold. With nowhere to empty his pockets, he bumps into Sev back in Maryport, where she lets him share some of her storage space. Sev teaches Pix about the dungeon system and how to earn enough money to buy his own home. While gearing up for his first dungeon run, Pix runs into Rendog and gets introduced to the cult of Ding. Together they head to the sewer dungeon and rope Lizzie into joining them. Narrowly escaping death and pulling secret levers, they work their way through the sewers, finding the secret rat merchant Slink, but unfortunately aren't able to afford his wares just yet. Lizzie sacrifices herself to teach Pix the dangers of randomly pulling dungeon levers. They then complete the final room, and he leaves the dungeon 558 gold richer. With his new riches, he regroups with Lizzie and Ollie, who escort him to purchase the final property available in Maryport.
Moving on to Rendog. Rendog's first episode features a ton of cutaway clips from the launch day session, but also his first Misadventures livestream. It's in one of these clips where we see the birth of the cult of Ding, which is definitely not a cult.
Ding, ding, ding,
Ding, ding,
ding, ding.
Cult of Ding Ding. Is that our cult name?
Ding.
After creeping Lizzie out a little, Ren and Martin are able to purchase the plot of land for their cult base. Ren also finds out that the NPCs are in fact killable, but thankfully, Molly the Shepherd was brought back to life.
I hear it.
Oh,
too.
I killed Molly.
Ren grants some of his founding cult members with new nicknames such as Brother Ding, Sister Dang, Brother Dong, and dubbing himself Brother Dung. Lizzie runs away in fear of getting a nickname for herself. Ren then unveils Dung Manor, his little castle residence within the community village, and spends the rest of the episode running the dungeon with Pix and Lizzie.
Up next, we have Seapeekay. Seapeekay starts his adventure in the abandoned iron mine with Martin. After trying to solve a Minecraft puzzle that I don't think even exists, they finally find their way to the surface. With directional help from Lizzie, they stumble into Maryport, where they meet some fellow misadventurers. Rendog hires them both with a diamond each to run some dungeons together. Seapeekay's POV of Martin dying to the lever trap is hilarious, and I highly recommend you go watch it for yourself. And then just minutes later, while running the sewer dungeon again with another group, he sits and waits for the lever trap to claim another victim, which doesn't take long.
Oh,
Did you pull the lever?
Another one!
Oh no.
And now we have Shubble. After spawning into the beautiful town of Maryport, Shubble asks the question we've all been wanting an answer to.
So wait, are these NPCs romanceable?
Scott breaks the news that unfortunately they are not, but that doesn't stop Shubble from trying.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it asked me how my day was. That's so nice.
While in Maryport, she bumps into Martin and Seapeekay, where some of the clown roleplay begins.
I mean,
this is no time to jest.
Pastel colours, big red nose. I thought it was
Would
a
you
clown.
take me for a joke? Unbelievable.
After visiting the resource world, she decides to try out some of her jokes on the Watchmaster NPC. However, he doesn't seem to be a fan of comedy.
Not interested in your jests.
Shubble heads back into the resource world to gather more materials before picking a spot in the wilderness to park up her steam-powered travelling circus, somewhat resembling Howl's moving castle. This build is beautiful.
Next up is Smajor. With the help of Drift, fWhip, and Katherine, Scott introduces the Misadventures SMP. They immediately try dragging him into running dungeons, but Scott's priority is getting on the property ladder. After a quick tour of the various properties in Maryport, he settles on Pond House. Purchases the plot and heads into the resource world to gather materials and gear up for future dungeons. Now in full iron gear, Scott meets up with Martin for his first sewer run. They breeze through, even avoiding the lever trap that has claimed so many already, and collect their rewards. Amongst the loot was a bucket of tadpole which Scott places in his pond and names him Terry. Jimmy joins the server and Scott gives him the full tour of Maryport. Along the way, they bump into Cam, who reveals he is now Scott's brand new neighbor. To no one's surprise, Scott doesn't sound too pleased.
Yeah, I'm going to need to get invisibility potions to get home.
After one more delve into the sewer dungeon, Scott wraps up his episode warning his audience to not get too attached to Terry, as he's now grown into a frog and will more than likely escape. But it's too late, Scott. I've known Terry for less than a minute and I would already die for him.
Moving on to Smallishbeans, and I think this is the most chaotic start to the series yet. We dive straight in with server crashes, bugs, and a 6-way kiss, followed by Joel crashing his own game by trying to deposit 105 trillion gold into an empty pouch. After all of that, Joel attempts the Lost Crypt dungeon and dies immediately. Lizzie escorts Joel to the abandoned iron mine where he's able to get a full set of armor. Back in Maryport, Joel browses the various NPC shops and somehow accidentally purchases a home. Another 5 minutes later, and it finally clicks that Lizzie has named Maryport after their dog Mary. After what can only be described as a cinematic masterpiece, he is back at the Lost Crypt dungeon ready for revenge, narrowly avoiding death but eventually falls to the spider trap room. This time with the help of an enchanted golden apple, he clears the spider room with ease. He even solves the bonus parkour puzzle and collects his rewards. Taking a detour through Orchidia, Joel convinces the NPCs to call him handsome.
Call me handsome. As you wish, handsome. How can I be of service to you in Arcadia today?
Only to immediately judge them on their choice of pizza toppings.
Does not partake in such modern delights, but I've heard good things about mushrooms. What? That's the worst type.
Joel then closes out the episode with a reveal of his newly decorated home.
Up next is Solidarity. Jimmy starts the series by explaining why his eyes look like that. It's unsettling, but I kinda hope he keeps them. Now actually on the server, Jimmy dives straight into the Lost Crypt dungeon, finding all the Empire's SMP references and not hesitating to steal the armor off the decorative armor stands. The boss room was a little broken on the first day, so he's manually escorted out of the dungeon where he's met by Lizzie. Lizzie takes Jimmy to his first settlement, Orchidia, where he learns how expensive candles are. After a quick tour of the town, Jimmy settles on purchasing his new home, Bonita Casita. fWhip continues the tour of Orchidia as he's the person who built it, showing off the town square featuring a pond where you can toss a coin to your fWhipper. The pond is even coded to directly put the thrown golden nuggets straight into fWhip's inventory, which I think is a really cool addition. Jimmy then ventures out to Maryport, where Scott gives him a tour of his house as well as the Maryport vendors. Back in his Bonita Casita, he reveals a now partially decorated home, but it needs a finishing touch. He heads back to Rosalia's and purchases a candle, despite telling everyone on the server that it was a scam.
Now on to SunnySev. Sev was one of the few players brave enough to start their adventure by taking on the Lost Crypt dungeon alone, quickly becoming a victim to the spider trap room. For her second attempt, Sev decides it would be smarter to party up with Avid and Mogswamp. Things are going smoother this time until Sev unlocks a secret passageway which Avid immediately gets trapped behind. Sev and Mog peacefully attempt the parkour puzzle while Avid is fighting for his life against the Pirate King. Avid dies and they are soft-locked out of finishing the dungeon. Now back in Maryport, Lizzie gives her the tour and recommends the sewer dungeon instead. A large group party up and enter together. Narrowly escaping death by slime, she works her way through the dungeon, just to become another victim of the sewer trap door. Taking a break from the dungeon, Sev heads to the resource world and starts gathering materials, eventually finding a beehive which will help craft a lot of the blocks needed for her build palette. After heading back to Maryport, she purchases her first property, a tiny salty shack down by the river so she can finally empty her inventory. She meets up with Sausage, Shubble and Drift before heading out to the wilderness to claim the plot of land for the community village. As Sev had the most money, she purchased the land and was elected mayor of the definitely not a cult. She clears an area and builds her adorable starter cottage. After showcasing her neighbours' houses and taming a horse, she decides it's time for redemption in the Lost Crypt. This time better geared and partied up with fWhip, they enter the dungeon together. They breeze through the dungeon with ease, even completing both puzzles and claiming the bonus loot.
Next up is Taneesha. Taneesha's series begins in Maryport, with a group of misadventurers looking for a dungeon to explore. Lizzie recommends asking some of the NPCs for directions, but it turns out a lot of them are liars. After a lot of misleading clues, NPC Lizzie guides them in the correct direction.
Well, hello there, misadventurers. It's the sewers.
The group party up and very quickly find out how difficult the dungeons are, but on the second attempt, Taneesha and Shubble are able to survive. As the dungeon party grows bigger, they are able to figure out the lever puzzles, unlocking more loot at the exit. With a full inventory, Taneesha decides to buy a house in town, empties her pockets and heads into the resource world to gear up and gather materials while the rest of her group scout out a spot for the community village. After some trading with fellow misadventurers, Taneesha had the majority of the blocks she needed to start her slimy build. But this is only one of the builds she has in mind. For her future project, she has something big planned, which means she's going to need a lot of money. And as she closes out her episode, we're given a teaser of some of the antics she's been up to, which might be how she plans on getting rich.
So that just about does it for the main part of our Misadventures Week 1 recap. You will notice that we haven't recapped on every misadventurer, and that could be for two reasons. Reason 1, they hadn't uploaded whilst we've been editing this. We obviously want to provide a full week recap, but sometimes we could just get unlucky with when the uploads happen. Reason 2, I'm expecting to see some comments about things that have happened in live streams. Unfortunately, we aren't going to be able to scour every live stream for our weekly recap. There's already over 100 hours of streams in 1 week, I think. It seems like a lot, but this is where you come in. On any videos posted to this channel, let us know your favourite moments from the Misadventures SMP and we will check them out. There is a fandom wiki for Misadventures which will be linked down below, and we're also keeping an eye on r/MisadventuresSMP on Reddit, which will also be linked below. This show is by the fans for the fans, so it only makes sense we try our best to make something we all want to see. We'll be back next week for what I'm sure is going to be a very juicy Week 2 recap, but for now, I guess you can have some stream moments.
Come out. Bees. Come out. Come
Beezy, you hearing this? Are you hearing my call? My song? From beyond the hive, I need you to live. In the house, in the roof. Come on, come out of there, man. You're beautiful and you're free. You must be free of your hive and now mad. Please.
Do you happen to know where the bookshop is?
Have you tried turning around?
Well, now I have. Thank you. I found it.
Down we go. Nice.
Boom.
You're not that scary. I wasn't terrified at all. I promise, no, I wasn't. Shut up. You're stupid.
I am.
Come in here. Come in there. Right, now you're trapped forever.
Oh, rat at the door. Good evening.
Is that my rat?
Oh yeah, it's your rat. Yeah, look at you go.
Avid, where's your rat?
My rat is tied up just right here.
Oh, what a nice little rat. How do you guys summon them? How was Scott doing that thing? Yeah.
You hit the O key. I hope you can't do it too. Oh.
Did you TP me?
Now. Oh, come over here. Oh wait, it doesn't work for me and you. Okay. So Louise can summon you.
Ooh.
Eloise can summon you somehow.
But that's weird because I definitely got on your rat, not.
Wait, you got on my rat?
Yeah, I got on your rat.
Wait, can two people go on the rats at once?
No, that is weird.
Anyway, I won't steal your rat. I just wanted to see if it would work.
It's okay. Thanks for that. I appreciate you being nice about it.
I won't do a Scott.
People. All right. Thank you. Hey! You said you would. That's a trust barrier that's broken.
I'm so glad that worked. I'm really glad it didn't TP drift.
I need Jim. I need Jim. And he's gotta be strong and he's gotta be fast and he's gotta be fast. I need Jim. I need Jim. Sorry, I cut it out then. I just want to hear your. I want to hear your raw notes.